Hi, my name is Calder Williams, and I don't have anything else.
Hi, I'm Rylan Williams. I'm going to Crabapple Middle School in 6th grade next year. Yeah.
I'm Luca Pellegrini. I'm going to Crabapple next year.
I'm Mark Fan. I go to Milton High School, and I'll be a senior next year.
Terrific. Let's hear it for these gentlemen. Now, is there anyone in the group that can introduce us to your scout leaders?
All right, so right here in the navy collared shirt, we have Mr. Ritchie. And then in the Class A uniform, we have Miss Terry. And then next to her is Miss Pellegrini. And then next to her is Mr. Powell.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for being Boy Scouts in Roswell, Georgia, but I'd also like to thank your scout leaders for taking the time. I know it takes a lot of time, so thank you all. So let's get a picture.
Riley.
Okay. All right, everyone ready? Keep smiling. We'll take a few.
Not sure what your merit badge requires, but please know that you, depending on what your scout leaders say, are welcome to leave at any time. You don't have to stay for the whole meeting, but it's up to the scout leaders. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Tizer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Judy. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously. The next item is the Administration and Finance Department. Councilmember Wilsey.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 1, approval of a resolution to accept Round 3 2020 Community Development Block Grant Coronavirus CDBG-CV allocations. This item will be presented by Charles Alford, Grant Specialist. Thank you, Charles.
If we can get that flipped over or not. Thank you, ma'am. You're welcome. Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Council. This is sort of a follow-up on the 2020 Community Development Block Grant Coronavirus Round 3 allocations. We have $376,654 to allocate. In March 15th, we closed the RFP. We released that to city departments and nonprofits. On May 11th, we went to the Admin Finance Committee. Staff recommended funding 7 projects. Mayor and Council at that time requested more time to review the projects. So we gave you until the following committee meeting. So on June 15th, the Admin Finance Committee meeting, staff presented the additional feedback we had gotten from Mayor and Council, and committee voted to move that item to the June 28th Mayor and Council meeting. I had a personal conflict for that June 28th Mayor and Council meeting, and so the Mayor and Michael graciously allowed this to be moved to the July 12th Council meeting tonight. Here are the allocations. This includes the additional input we've received from Mayor and Council, and but I also have the resolution here as well that shows what we're recommending tonight. have any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Alford, and I would, I hope your father's doing much better. Our well wishes are with you. Does council have any questions for Mr. Alford? Yes, Councilmember Palermo.
Thank you, Mayor Henry. I just have a comment. So I will be supporting this item tonight and this allocation. I want to stress, as we had discussed at that previous meeting, that we had a previous process where this was always a unanimous and really, somewhat quicker process, and then the process changed, which created, I think, a little more division and really made it a less smooth process. So I do appreciate staff taking that extra time and really us all working together to make sure that we are going to really move forward with the more efficient processes, and if something's not broke, then not fixing it. But again, I definitely appreciate this, and again, I will be supporting this tonight.
Additional comments from council? Is there anyone in the public that would like to come forward and speak? Not seeing any hands up. Do I have a motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Motion to approve item number 1, approval of the Round 3 2020 CDBG-CV allocations.
We've got a motion by Councilmember Wilsey. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Tizer. All those in favor, please raise your hands, and it passes unanimously. Next, we are going to Community Development Department. Councilmember Hall.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 2, approval of RZ 20211-495, 12155, and 12165 Etris Road, rezone RS30 to RS12. This applicant requested a deferral from the July 12th, 2021 Mayor and Council meeting to the August 9th, 2021 Mayor and Council meeting.
Ms. Dybel.
Yes, this is a deferral request from the applicant. The applicant deferred from the Planning Commission meeting, from their June meeting to the July 20th Planning Commission meeting. So due to that, they have, this has to be deferred to your August 9th meeting.
And let me say, by custom, we always grant a deferral when the applicant requests it. However, there might be someone in the audience that has come forward this evening that would like to speak about this. And if you are in the audience and you would like to speak this evening, you are welcome to come forward at this point in time. If not, we will be holding the hearing at a later date. I don't see anyone approaching. And any additional comments from council before I ask for a motion? Do we have a motion?
Yes, Mayor. Motion to defer.
Motion by Councilmember Hall. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Judy. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously. Thank you. Back to you, Councilmember Hall.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 3, approval of CU 20211-494, conditional use for used car sales located at 11208 Alpharetta Highway, and this will be presented by Ms. Dybel.
Yes, so this is a conditional use for 11208 Alpharetta Highway. It's the Mazda request. The application was submitted in April of this year. It had a neighborhood meeting on May 13th, and it was heard by the Planning Commission at their June 15th, 2021 meeting. This is the aerial of the property, as you can see, stated at 11208 Alpharetta Highway. Property is currently zoned CH, commercial heavy. The property is approximately 1.5 acres. There's a current 2-story main building that's around a little over 10,000 square feet with a 1-story accessory building on there, approximately around 916 square feet. The property contains 74 parking spaces on the site. This is the proposed site plan that the applicant has. As I stated, this is existing. The building is existing. It was a Discount Tire that went out of business. The applicant is looking to move in to do used car sales. The plan here, this gives you a little bit closer up view. If you look at the whole site, you can see some red on there. In the back, they're looking to show customer and staff parking, and at the front, they have a couple of spaces labeled for customer and staff parking, as you can see zoomed in here, what they're showing. And they have some ADA spaces marked along the front as well, with a total of 8 spaces in the front section. There are other current, we wanted to show you a map of existing car dealerships around the area. So this is other used car and new car dealerships that are located within approximately a half mile or so of the location of 11208 Alpharetta Highway. The staff did recommend approval of the conditional use request for the used car dealership, indicating also with a couple of conditions. One, that the 8 spaces along Alpharetta Highway shall be used for customer parking only, and all used cars shall be parked on the side and the rear of the building or inside the showroom. So if you go back to the site plan here, what we're looking at is indicating that the 8 spaces along the front would be used for customer only, and then the side and the rear and inside the building to be used for the storage of the vehicles. Our second condition was to require additional landscaping to be reviewed and approved by the Design Review Board. As I stated, the Planning Commission heard this on their June meeting. They have one condition, that the applicant shall enhance the streetscape along Alpharetta Highway to be approved by the Design Review Board. So what they were looking at is for some additional landscaping along the Alpharetta Highway streetscape. Do you have any questions for staff?
Council have any questions? Is there anyone in the public that would like to come forward and speak?
The applicant is here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Gosh. We'd like to hear from the applicant.
Sheldon Williams, 11208 Alpharetta Highway. My request would be to have the parking along the front be available for used car parking, and to have customer parking in the rear as indicated in the red spots towards the back. It's 67 feet. It's not even as wide as this building. It'd be very few cars. I don't think it's going to really mess up the look of Alpharetta Highway, and it would sure benefit the business to have those cars be available up front. So that's what I'm asking, and of course we have a landscape proposal if you'd like to see it.
Does council have any questions for the applicant? Councilmember Judy.
Thank you, Mayor. Is this going to be a Mazda branded used car lot?
No, sir.
Not.
No, it's going to be, we're going to be operating with the DBA. We will be selling inventory that was generated from sales from Mazda of Roswell.
Thank you.
Additional questions from council? Now we'll have comments from the public. Is there anyone from the public that would like to come forward and speak? I'll reserve rebuttal time for you, sir. You can sit down. I don't see anyone with their hand up or approaching. Additional comments from council? Councilmember Palermo.
Thank you, Mayor Henry. So I think as we look at Roswell and the makeup, a lot of the businesses, I have some concerns with sustainability of having so many of the same type of business, and really an example there is used cars. As shown on the map, there's a lot in that area. There's obviously other parts of this state highway through Roswell that has a lot as well that were not shown in that map also. And with that, at the same time, I think for this exact location, I think I could support the situation here, but I'd say I certainly agree with staff's recommendation. I'd actually want to take it further, and basically the same intent that I think staff meant with that condition. But in a way to make it even stronger, my thought process would be at no time. So in addition to that item, in addition to condition number 1, is that at no time could a for-sale car be parked closer to the street than the building? Because again, it is a concern I have that our goal is to really increase walkability as well as make sure that we're supporting a sustainable business environment, et cetera. That's where kind of my concerns are, and again, that I certainly agree with staff's intent.
Additional comments from council? Very quiet night tonight. I will say this, if I were to support this, I don't know that I'll have an opportunity to vote, but if I was to support this, I do not want to see additional used car sales in the city of Roswell. I understand with the changing sales strategies with the dealers that oftentimes you might need a used car outlet, and I'm in favor of that if you can't see it and if you brand it. So if this says Mazda on the sign and you're parking the cars in the back, none of them in the front, and I could probably get there, but I certainly couldn't get there branding this as a used car dealer, not under the Mazda name. And, we've got let me put it this way, we've got a huge industry in Roswell, and those are new car dealers. They're very important to this city, so used cars, not as much. But I would fully support, if this council were to make a motion that was very restrictive on the site, I could support it, but I could not support the applicant's request. So are there any other comments before I ask the applicant if he would like to? Yes, Councilmember Zapata.
So you have just quick question for staff. All those spaces will say customers parking only on the floor. They will be clearly marked as well.
That could be specifically added as a condition to make sure that it is clearly marked. We indicated that they should be customer, but it would have to be clearly marked for that.
Great, thank you.
Councilmember Hall.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I just have a clarifying question to your comment, or for the applicant. Is it going to be called Mazda, or is it the name, the branding going to be Roswell Motors?
It will not be called.
If you would please come forward, thank you.
The name we were planning on using was called Affordable Autos of Roswell. It wouldn't be tied into the franchise, the Mazda franchise.
So it won't be branded as a Mazda facility at all?
It will not.
Thank you.
Intentionally to separate the two.
Yes, Councilmember Palermo.
And I know there was a question regarding customer parking, and the reason I'd want to see an additional condition that has the stronger language is because we do see with a lot of our used car dealerships that perhaps whether it's after hours or during hours, that not only would those our cars sometimes parked in the actual parking spots, but we've seen where cars have been parked more of just as many in the front as possible, and even some locations even blocking the entrances to fill out more cars there, which is concerning for me. I've seen it encroaching on sidewalks, et cetera. So that's why, if this council does choose to approve this, that I certainly would want to make sure there's that stronger language to make sure that really the cars are staying where they're supposed to, both when it's open for business and closed for business.
Thank you, Councilmember Palermo. Additional comments, questions from council for the applicant? I will entertain a motion.
I would just like to see the staff conditions on the screen one more time, please.
Sir, you can have a seat. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm ready to make a motion?
Thank you.
I recommend motion to approve CU 20211-494, conditional use for used car sales located at 11208 Alpharetta Highway, incorporating the conditions from staff with the additional condition that the front parking spaces will be clearly marked, that they are customer parking only. And, hang on. Is there a planning thank you. And the approval with the streetscape plan as approved by the Design Review Board. And that would be my motion.
We've got a motion by Councilmember Hall. Do I have a second? I don't have a second, so I'll ask for clarifying questions after I have a second. If not, the motion has died. Okay, that motion has died. Do I have another motion? Councilmember Palermo.
Well, actually, I guess what I want to make sure, my goal is to hopefully have a consensus among the council in whichever direction that's chosen. I think we should talk through it and see what the right solution is. But what I'd suggest, if there is interest in this, that it is more important than just marking that it's customer-only parking, because I think what it's important is that if there is interest for this council to move forward, that parking for sale cars at any point closer than the building is a violation of the zoning condition, whether they're open for business or closed during closed hours.
Thank you, Councilmember Palermo. I'll ask for additional comments before I entertain another motion. If I don't hear any, I'll ask Councilmember Palermo to make that motion, if you're ready. Additional comments? Councilmember Palermo, do you have a motion?
Well, actually, I'd like to, I haven't heard from the majority of this council, and again, my goal is to hopefully find consensus on this. So I guess for those that haven't spoken yet, or those that have, I guess I'd be curious what your thoughts are and your perspective, because I think this is an important decision we make tonight, and again, I'm hoping whichever decision we make will be unanimous.
Councilmember Palermo, I'll open it up to council again, but you didn't have any takers on the first go-around, so let's give it a shot again. Any comments from council to give Councilmember Palermo direction? Councilmember Palermo.
I think that's telling me the consensus is not supporting this, no matter the conditions. I think that's what I'm hearing. So if that's, unless I'm hearing otherwise, I will make a motion to deny, unless any council members are feeling otherwise. But again, my preference is just to make sure we have a consensus and we really talk through all the different aspects of this decision.
We've got a motion by Councilmember Palermo to deny. Do I have a second? And that motion fails. Okay, three's a charm. Councilmember Hall?
Okay, I'm prepared to make a new motion. Motion to approve CU 20211-494, conditional use for used car sales located at 11208 Alpharetta Highway, with both of the conditions from staff and the additional condition from the Planning Commission, and the additional conditions of demarcating or marking the front parking spaces that they will be for customer use only, and there will be no overnight parking in those parking spaces, and there will be no vehicles parked to the front of the building at any time, either during operating hours or closed hours. I think that's it.
Councilmember Hall, when you say no vehicles parked close to the front of the building, are you including what Councilmember Palermo requested, which is no parking on the side of the building as well?
That is correct, as long as it's not, that is correct.
So the only used car vehicles could be parked in the rear of the building, not on the side and not in the front, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. Additional clarifying questions from council? We've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Tizer. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it is Zapata, Hall, and Tizer. All those opposed, Judy, Wilsey, and Palermo. And I will vote in favor of not granting this application, so my vote is to deny. The motion fails, and regretfully, your application has been denied. I'll go back to you, Councilmember Hall.
Mayor, thank you, Mayor. Oops. Item number 4. HPC 2021-2082, 153 Sloan Street. Alternative compliance to allow for a garage to be located within the 70-foot setback with 2 concurrent variances, presented by Ms. Dybel.
All right, so this is a request for alternative compliance at 153 Sloan Street. The applicant is looking to receive approval of their appeal based on section 8.2.10 of the Unified Development Code in order to build the garage with a single-family home that's already been approved. The applicant is also requesting 2 concurrent variances with this request. The applicant was heard and approved by the Historic Preservation Commission on the June 9th, 2021 meeting. Here's an aerial view of the property. The site plan of the property showing the house, and as you can see, the garage is to the, I guess, what's that, north, south, east, west side of the house. So per the regulating map, so when the Historic District Master Plan was adopted in 2019, and then the text amendment changes and updated in the Unified Development Code in March of 2020, the other portion that was adopted last year by council was the alternative compliance section. So on the regulating map, there's a 70-foot setback on this property. The proposed garage encroaches 4.5 feet into that 70 feet. So due to that, they are required to receive alternative compliance as per the section 8.2.10 of the code. Due to that also, they have to be heard and reviewed by the Historic Preservation Commission. Whether the HPC approves or denies an item for alternative compliance, it is an automatic appeal to the mayor and council. This one was approved by the Historic Preservation Commission. The applicant is also requesting a side setback variance for the accessory structure from 5 feet to 2, and also a variance to section 2.2.19, letter B number 5, which is to allow for a detached garage to be placed entirely, the section says that it has to be placed entirely to the rear of the house, and as you can see by the garage, it was to the side. Here's a little better plan to show you the differences here. You have requesting alternative compliance. The blue line is the 70-foot setback. The green line shows you the side setback of where the garage is going over. And then, of course, the garage is placed a little bit to the side, not technically to the rear, and I'll show you why. The criteria the HPC can use for the alternative compliance, which is in the Unified Development Code, indicating that compelling reasons must be met. It satisfies the intent of the historic district, satisfies the approval of the C of A. Design approach demonstrates exception with the HPC guidelines and Part C of the UDC, and conforms with the master plan and the comp plan. Here's the structure, that current house. They're showing the house from the front and the rear, and as you can see where the deck is shown, the rear shows a drop off. So this is why the proposed garage is to the side and not in the rear of the house. Here's the front elevation that was shown to the Historic Preservation Commission, showing the detached garage. Staff does recommend approval of the alternative compliance appeal to allow for the garage to encroach into the 70-foot setback. And as I stated before, the HPC did grant approval during their meeting in June. Do you have any questions for staff?
Council have any questions for staff? And the applicant is here this evening, so if you would come forward and speak.
Steve Rockland, 73 Woodstock Road. I am the principal for SAR and Associates. We are representing Roswell Town LLC as the property owner. I have Jay Bausch with me from Gage, who is the designer and architect for this area. So he has done the actual renderings and did the presentation for what we have in front of us tonight for the garage concept. First, I'd like to say a couple things. I've been building in Roswell for 42 years, so I've been here quite a long time. Secondly, this project started actually in June of 2018. So 30 months basically has gone by since we actually started the construction and renovation of this. And I've got some great pictures to show you tonight. And it's really kind of a labor of love when you take this from what it was. And I want to recommend, or I want to thank staff, Julie, Joanna, as well as you all tonight for listening and hearing this and seeing what we have here, because we are really proud of what came from here and what it was, because it was really just about to fall down the hill, so it was going to be in the park down below. So I'll show a few pictures, I'll take some questions, and then we can go from there. Slide. This is actually me standing under the house after it was raised up. And really the hardest part of this was the house was sitting on old brick and limestone and rock that was there from the 1840s or 50s. So we had to take and raise the house up 14 feet to get the old foundation out from underneath it, and then be able to put a new concrete foundation to get it to exactly where we had asked for, 5 feet we raised it 5 feet in overall height to get it level with the front of the street, so it had a much nicer elevation. This took approximately 5.5 to 6 months. It actually took the Hercules people almost 2 months to get us set up, get everything in place to be able to get jacked up in a position where we could get it stabilized and be able to get the new foundation underneath it. The house was at the time 6 inches out of square. So trying to set it down on, anybody knows foundations built square, we had a real hard time of getting it adjusted. And also the floors in the house had sagged about 6 inches. This is it when it was up in the air, getting ready for us to try and be able to put a new foundation underneath it. And that is approximately where it is today for street level. It's actually down from there about 18 to 20 inches. After we got the foundation in, we brought in compacted fill, then had to build a basement underneath it while the beams were still in place, the steel beams holding the house up. Here's today pictures of the inside of what we have is finished, but over on the left side, my left, you can see what the old structure looked like. The walls inside, we have saved all of the original timbers, all of the original wood, all of the pine and cedar that's on the ceilings. And if you look here in the picture that's where it's finished, those 2 wind beams that are going through there are actually the beams that were in the house from the 1850s or 60s. We actually kept everything that we could to keep it historic and do as best job as possible to whoever buys the house, owns the house, will have this for the rest of their time in history. The new bathroom, that's the master. On the right, your right, I guess, my left is the bathroom that was in there that had been remodeled from years and years gone by. There's the old fireplace that was in the house. It was a masonry fireplace that had decayed so poorly that it would crumble by hand. We put a new fireplace right back in the same spot. We represented it as the original piece. We've got a piece of, the mantle is actually a piece of wood that came off of the lot, so that you can see we've tried to represent the house and put it back to make it look as close to as original as possible, keeping all the wood that we could and keeping everything kind of in the same places that it originally started. Here you can see the views from what we have today as to what was there and the deck that was on the back of the house. The deck on the back of the house was not safe to even walk on, was falling down. Today we have a two-tiered deck for where we raised the house to get it up to where it has great living space outside. And this is also representative of where we are on the lot, because the lot, the second tier deck, which is the basement level, is actually about 12 feet off the ground. If you have to put a garage back there, you would have 12 to 14 foot retaining walls on the back of the lot, which from the park down below would just, as close as it is to the parking lot and the walkways, would stand out, and all you would see is the garage, all the retaining walls and stuff for that garage. Here is the view from the front porch. We are currently approximately, the house is 70 feet from the street. We're 70 feet from the street. You can see the new house that's being built next door. It's approximately 30 feet in front of us. When we pulled the original building permit and went through HPC, the setbacks were not as, were not set at 70 feet. So possibly if we had asked for a garage or something at that time, but with historic conditions, it kind of made it difficult to try and at least get this done, save the house, and then come back. And now that's why we're at the position we are, of the garage and stuff being there. But we think with the concept that we've come up with, the smart thing here is for the views from below and for the views from the people who would own the house is to have the garage to the side there where there's plenty of room, and to also allow for it to sit on the lot properly and even look with the other houses that are next door that are so much bigger. It just kind of fits the space. We think the design is great. It doesn't, it's small structure, and I think it's really set in there well that it fits. We're lucky that it actually fits on that side instead of down below. And there's what the final product should look like once it's all in and done. I have questions, or we actually have Jay here who can answer questions. If there's any questions about design or what we got through or passed by historic.
Council have any questions for the applicant? Councilmember Palermo.
Excellent. Mr. Rogland, thank you for walking us through that. Really beautiful. So I have one question, because it's my understanding there were three aspects. There was basically that typically in the historic master plan, a garage would be required to be behind a house or a building, and with this topography, that part's clear to me on why it's not behind. There's another one that it needs to be here 5 feet from the property line, and I think you said yours is about 2 feet. In seeing the different something that the staff showed, that was clear to me on why you needed that extra few feet. The part that was not clear to me is this is 5 feet or so in front of the 70 feet, I believe. Is that? And so I guess that's the one part that's not completely clear to me. Help me understand why this couldn't be back at the 70 feet also.
If we go back another 5 feet with the garage, the drop off is more than 2 to 1. So 5 feet's 10 foot of wall. So if you look at that right behind where we are, and we've got this as very small footprint, every foot is another 2 feet of wall. And every 2 feet of wall is a footing that's that much bigger. So if you've got a 10-foot wall, you've got about a 7 or 8 foot footing. If you get back there to where you're at a 12-foot wall, you're going to have, a 10-foot footing. When you do that, you're disturbing that much more land. It's that much more difficult to build. And we actually, just so you guys will understand and know, with Julie, we replicated the brick. We went out and had the brick made so they're the exact same size of what was originally there. The siding was milled in Pennsylvania, so we duplicated what was already on the house to save everything the way it was. So, in actuality, this is probably one of the toughest jobs I've ever done, 30 months of construction. And really, to get the garage, it would be even easier if we brought it forward a couple more feet As it is, we're still gonna have about an 8-foot wall back there that we're gonna have to brick up and make it fit in and tie into the house.
Excellent. Thank you for that explanation.
Thank you.
Councilmember Wilsey.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Rockland, for the presentation. I also just wanted to thank you for investing in the historic district and doing such a beautiful restoration of this historic property, and also for working so closely with staff and with HPC on the design. With making sure that the architecture of the addition blends in with the architecture of the home. I know that color is not something that can be dictated, but I just wanted to make sure, I assume from this rendering that the color would be the same as the historic home.
It is actually, the colors that we're showing are the exact same colors on the house as the garage. The same, we've kept the, and it's very white on white. The brick's the natural color of the brick, which will be on the same garage, the garage or carriage house. We actually have the houses separated, so the historic value of the house stays the historic value. There's no attachment there, so that the garage, if there was ever somebody wanted to buy it as a museum and take it back to the original, could be taken away or taken down. The colors that are on the shutters are the actual colors of the garage door, so we're not changing anything. We're keeping it very simple.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you for the kind words.
Sure, thank you.
Additional comments, questions from council? Mr. Rockland, you can have a seat. Is there anyone in the public that would like to come forward and speak? Not seeing anyone come forward. I think that might be due to your excellent presentation, so thank you very much. You've covered all your bases. And yes, Councilmember Palermo.
Thank you. I just want to give a comment as well. So definitely beautiful job and presentation. What I want to point out for those that aren't aware is within the laws of Roswell, there's our Historic Preservation Commission, who does a phenomenal job, as well as Julie, who's here on staff, who does a phenomenal job on having requirements of what the outside looks like. And obviously, the applicant, I think, has done a great job working and following those guidelines. There are no requirements on the inside. So it was really the applicant just choosing to go above and beyond with the beams and the ceiling, et cetera, which, although not required, I think definitely does add to the historic character of a great historic neighborhood.
Additional comments from council? Yes, Councilmember Zapata.
Thank you. Oh, great job, great presentation. Looks beautiful. I see it all the time on HGTV. Remind me all this night watching this, and you did a great job on bringing some historic homes up today, but still keeping the character of a historic home. So great job. Thanks.
Do I have a motion? Councilmember Hall.
Thank you, Mayor. Motion to approve item number 4, HPC 2021-2082, 153 Sloan Street, alternative compliance to allow for a garage to be located within the 70-foot setback with the 2 concurrent variances.
Got a motion by Councilmember Hall. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Tizer. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously. Thank you again, sir. And we will give him a minute to remove his pictures.
Can I say something?
No.
It's about another
We're
thing.
moving on to the next item. Thank you.
Sorry.
The next item, Councilmember Hall.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 5, approval of a text amendment to the Unified Development Code to Section 12.2, stream buffers, Section 12.2.3, land development. This is the first reading.
Mr. Davidson.
Thank you. This is an ordinance to amend the Unified Development Code by modifying Article 12, Section 12.2, stream buffers. Now therefore, the mayor and council of the city of Roswell, Georgia, pursuant to their authority, do hereby amend Article 12, Section 12.2, stream buffers, Section 12.2.3, land development, letter B, variance procedures, number 1 and number 2, of the Unified Development Code, the text of which is incorporated herein by reference, and if approved, this is the first reading.
Thank you, Mr. Davidson. Ms. Bromberg.
Thank you very much. As Mr. Davidson mentioned, this is the first reading. The text amendment was brought forward to Mayor and Council due to a change that was made to the model ordinance several months ago. The ability to apply for a variance has two different components, Section 1 and Section 2, and both of them, per the model ordinance, were directed to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals for approval. When we asked the district about why they both were to go to the same thing, we said that's just the way it's supposed to be, and then they came back after we did the text amendment and said, oops, we did that wrong. It should actually be an administrative version and a version to Board of Zoning Appeals. So that is what we brought forward to you. This body did recommend some additional changes to limit the variance approval that would be administrative done by the engineering director, and that's going to be limited to when mitigation is able to be done on residential projects, including decks, patios, pools, and retaining walls under 6 feet. So the language, as included in the text amendment, is as was initiated by this body, and it was recommended for approval at the June 15th Planning Commission with no comments. And of course, staff does recommend approval of the first reading. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Council have any questions? Seeing no hands up, is there anyone in the public that would like to come forward and speak? Do I have a motion?
Yes, Mayor. Motion to approve item number 5, the text amendment to the Unified Development Code to Section 12.2, stream buffers, Section 12.2.3, land development as proposed.
We have a motion by Councilmember Hall. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Wilsey. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously. Back to you, Councilmember Hall. My, you've got a long agenda tonight.
Lots going on. Item number 6, approval of an initiation of a text amendment to the Unified Development Code to Article 4, Corridor and Node District, Section 4.3, Building Type Standards.
Ms. Dybel.
This is the initiation of a text amendment to Section 4.3, the building type standards. This is to be a section that is replacing or changing a section that was approved 2 years ago. So it's going to be amended by removing the restriction of requiring a minimum of 2 building types within the NX neighborhood mixed use and the CX commercial mixed use districts. So this is the initiation of this text amendment.
Council have any questions for Ms. Dybel? Yes, Councilmember Palermo.
Thank you, Mayor Henry. And so as a reminder for those that didn't watch the committee meeting, the reason for this is because this council, well, Councilmember Hall was not on this council, but the rest of this council, we had unanimously passed what at that time was a compromise. And the concern being something like neighborhood mixed use and commercial mixed use being 100% residential. And so this was a compromise to help that. Since then, there have been updates in which case the residential uses are conditional, in which case this is no longer necessary. And so that's why I brought forward to committee to remove that. And just to confirm, Ms. Dybel, in both NX and CX, both multifamily and townhomes are conditional use, not permitted use today. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yes, Mayor. Motion to approve item number 6, initiation of the text amendment to the Unified Development Code to Article 4, Corridor and Nodes District, Section 4.3, Building Type Standards as proposed.
I've got a motion by Councilmember Hall. Do I have a second? Second by Councilmember Palermo. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously. Councilmember Hall.
Thank you. Item number 7, approval of the initiation of a text amendment to the Unified Development Code to Section 4.5, allowed uses.
This is the initiation of a text amendment to Article 4, Section 4.5, allowed use table. So Section 4.5.2 use table to be amended by changing the permitted, letter P, to C, which is conditional, in the CC commercial corridor zoning category for townhomes. So what this would be doing would be making townhouses a conditional use in the commercial corridor zoning classification. Staff recommends approval of the initiation of the text amendment.
Councilmember Palermo.
Thank you, Mayor Henry. So I think this is definitely a beneficial one, and I appreciate Councilmember Hall bringing this forward at committee. So CC, the commercial corridor zoning, it's a zoning that's more typically existing on the east side of Roswell. And on the east side of Roswell, I think there's a lot of really public interest to create destinations and economic activity, and to instead have some commercial corridor properties turn into 100% townhomes without any public input, without any council input, I think would be a major lost opportunity. And so that's why I definitely see this as an urgent item and really beneficial for the community, just to ensure that residents get to have a voice and a public process occurs for this type of development and this type of zoning. So I certainly will be supporting this tonight.
Councilmember Judy.
Thank you, Mayor. I didn't support the way this was brought to committee with no backup or discussion. It's here this evening for initiation. At the committee, I said I didn't know if I supported or didn't support this, that it would need some more discussion. I certainly believe that this is, if you look at the number of changes to the UDC we are doing tonight, it goes to my statement of we should have a comprehensive review, if not a total redo of the UDC at some point in time. I'll say that over and over again, because I just think we are taking these things bit by bit by bit, and as seen in the previous one, it didn't fit anymore. Good we got it out, but I'm going to continue that phrase. Tonight, I will vote in favor of this to move to Planning Commission to get their opinion on this, so I can further study this as we get toward passing of this.
Councilmember Wilsey.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Dybel. Just a clarifying question, really to kind of expand on something that you just said earlier. I will be supporting this initiation and making townhomes conditional in the commercial corridor, but townhomes are already currently a conditional use, as you said, in neighborhood mixed use and mixed use, and this would simply expand that to, I guess, completely townhomes on a standalone lot, correct?
So could you state your question specifically?
Sure. So earlier you said, and I believe that townhomes were conditional use within neighborhood mixed use and mixed use?
And commercial mixed use,
And
correct.
commercial mixed use. So they are currently a mixed use. And so this amendment would expand that to just a standalone lot that was not part of a mixed-use project.
Yes.
Correct. So that's the major difference with
Yes, it
this.
would change it in commercial corridor, which is not a mixed-use classification. Yes.
But it extends, okay.
Technically,
Great, great, yes. I just wanted to clarify that for everyone to understand the terms, but great.
Additional questions, comments? Yes, Councilmember Zapata.
Thank you, Mayor. So, yeah, I will totally support this, because for me it's clear that this will allow public process with public input, and this is what it's all about. And I really appreciate bringing this forward and considering including the public process with public input in this kind of zoning. So I totally support this initiative.
Additional comments, questions for staff? Is there anyone in the public that would like to come forward and speak? Seeing no one approach, do I have a motion?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, item number 7, motion to approve the initiation of the text amendment to the Unified Development Code to Section 4.5, allowed uses as proposed.
We've got a motion by Councilmember Hall. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Zapata. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously. Councilmember Hall.
Item number 8, approval of the initiation of a text amendment to Article 13, Section 13.3.3 of the Unified Development Code on construction phasing for a mixed-use development.
Yes, so this is the initiation of the text amendment that relates to the mixed-use development discussion that we've had for the last few months, where the Planning Commission and you all had a joint work session and discussed it and asked the Planning Commission to come back to you with statements and policy. So the policy statement is not included in this tonight because this is the initiation of the text amendment that's going in the code. The policy statement does not go within the Unified Development Code. You will see the policy standards with the first reading of the text amendment once it goes through Planning Commission. So the statement that was accepted and proposed by the Planning Commission and brought forward to you all at committee is to create a section in 13.3.3 for mixed-use construction phasing to indicate that the project build-out schedule for the NX, CX, SH, CC, CH, PV, and DX horizontal mixed-use developments shall be submitted for review by city staff in accordance with the construction phasing policy adopted by Mayor and Council. The purpose of such phasing plan shall be to provide assurance that the development will include both the proposed non-residential and residential elements at certain project milestones and or at build-out. So this is the text that will be going within the Unified Development Code, which will then also tie to the policy that you will approve by resolution in a few months. Staff recommends approval of the initiation of the text amendment.
Council have any questions for staff? Councilmember Palermo.
Thank you. And this one is a very important one tonight that I'm certainly very happy to see here. And really, I think important to really point out the great contribution that our Planning Commission has made. So some history behind this one is basically when I had brought this forward originally, we had brought it in December 2020 is when it first came to council after some committee discussions. And really the big example and reason why is Sun Valley. So the apartments on Highway 9, on the corner of Highway 9 and Sun Valley, is ultimately what was proposed was a mixed-use development that was gonna include a grocery store, retail, restaurants, cafes, et cetera. And then what they ended up building was just the apartments. And that's something that we have to, I believe, as a council, make sure it doesn't happen again, and make sure it's very clear to developers that if they're going to propose something and show it to the public and show it for approval, that it does all need to, they need to really follow through on what's being proposed, because there are requirements in our existing UDC that basically ties the approval and ties things to a site plan. Yet this was a loophole that was available. Alpharetta has a different process where they found a way to help ensure this doesn't happen. They do it in a customized way, but nonetheless, it is something that they do with their different zonings, and that's where we had worked together with the Planning Commission. And frankly, what they proposed is not what I see as what I would see as personally my ideal. There are probably some aspects of it I'd like to be a little stricter, but given the great thought and time and discussion that Planning Commission put into it, as well as this council, I think it's a very reasonable compromise and something I'm willing to support tonight as written. So again, just has definitely been a big item that I think's been a long time coming, and really hoping this can be supported unanimously tonight for initiation.
Thank you. Councilmember Judy.
Thank you, Mayor. Much thanks to the Planning Commission and the work that's been done on this. I too don't think this is in its final form or going to be in its final form. And another reason why I think we should look at the UDC in a tougher way here shortly. But tonight I will be supporting this because I think that this will morph as we see what works and what does not work through this construction phasing as we put it into use. So I'll be supporting this evening and expect it to change over time, but we will see. Thank you.
Thank you. I would also like to make a comment. I would like to thank staff for all your hard work. I had directed staff early on to scour this country for model ordinances that we could work with. And you came up with some great opportunities for us. And then I'd also like to thank the Planning Commission because I felt, and the reason why I asked the Planning Commission to join us for a work session together was I fully believe that they spend a lot of time dealing with their zoning ordinance and planning and zoning, and I relish their input. I thought that they had great input. I would also like to, I would like to propose that we have additional work sessions with the Planning Commission because that collaborative effort, I think, between them, staff, and this council brought us to a much better resolution. So I would like to thank you all. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment on council? Councilmember Tizer.
Did you, were you referring to more sessions, joint sessions on this subject?
On any of the subjects that we have come before us. And the reason why I say that is, you know, it does go before the Planning Commission and then it comes to us, but a lot is lost in the translation, so to speak. I thought that it was very, very helpful to have the Planning Commission, council, and staff all in the same room together to reach some consensus and direction on where we wanted to go. So I would fully support and plan on calling for additional work sessions as they relate to planning and zoning. Additional comments from council. Councilmember Zapata.
Thank you, Mayor. So, yeah, I totally support this as a first step forward to mitigate this misleading the public with a project that looks beautiful and then is not done as presented to the public and the people of Roswell. So I think it's a great first step. And also I would like to, you know, I don't know how effective will be this only without the resolution that will stipulate the percentage and the time, et cetera. So I don't know if we can expedite also the moving forward the resolution. So then we're approved today plus the resolution, we really have a positive impact for what the community is expecting.
Additional comments from council. Councilmember Palermo.
So Councilman Zapata brought up, I think, a good point. So I think it is important. So ultimately, we're sending this to Planning Commission. If this is initiated, which I hope it is, this is going to be sent to Planning Commission. I think it is important that staff mentioned we're gonna get the resolution as well, which is going to give really those speculations that we had and we discussed and that Planning Commission kind of put together and that we all weighed in on. I think it is important that when we initiate this, we send both this and that document to Planning Commission to make sure we're getting all their input, because the last thing we'd want is for the first reading to have discussions, have debates, whatever it might be, and then the discussion be, well, let's send this piece to Planning Commission when right now, tonight, we can just send it all to Planning Commission since we already know what's coming to first reading, and I'd love to get their input. So, so my hope is when a motion's made that it's both to initiate this as well as to send the draft resolution that we approved in committee over to Planning Commission. Is that clear, Ms. Dybel, or for staff?
Additional comments from council? Is there anyone in the public that would like to come forward and speak? Councilmember Hall.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a clarifying question. In the text here, it refers to the other pieces, the policy, and we've been talking about it as the resolution. What is the correct terminology for that piece that defines the percentages?
A policy that's adopted by council, by definition, is a resolution. So.
Thank you.
Additional comments from council? Do I have a motion?
Yes, Mayor. Item number 8, motion to approve the initiation of the text amendment to the Unified Development Code to Article 13, Section 13.3.3 of the Unified Development Code on construction phasing for a mixed-use development as proposed, with the additional condition that the draft resolution from the planning, planning meeting, accompany this to the Planning Commission.
We've got a motion by Councilmember Hall. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember Palermo. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And that is Zapata, Hall, Wilsey, Palermo, and Judy. And for the record, Councilmember Tizer is absent for this vote. And the motion carries. The next item on the agenda, Councilmember Hall.
Thank you. Item number 9, approval of the initiation of a text amendment to Article 13 of the Unified Development Code regarding historic preservation.
This is the initiation of text amendment to a few sections in Article 13 related to the historic preservation, related to language that the state would like to see placed in our code. So this is, we also had the Assistant City Attorney, Michael Petty, reviewed all this and went through all this with us. So this is language that's to go in 13.2.4, and it's in red, as authorized by the OCGA, incorporated here by reference, to be found at the city website. So this is in this section here. And in 13.7.2, when is historic review required? This is to indicate that ordinary maintenance or repair of any exterior architectural feature in or on a property, structure, or site or work of art in the historic overlay district or on a designated landmark does not involve a material change in design, material, or outer appearance is excluded from review. So if it's inside the structure, obviously it doesn't go to the HPC. Section 13.7.12 is amended by adding letter F to indicate that the HPC shall not consider interior arrangement or uses having no effect or architectural features. And then also the last one is section 13.7.15 related to if a C of A, a certificate of appropriateness, is denied, obviously to send a transmit of a record related to that, and also to let them know that if there is a denial, that appeals from these decisions would then go to council, and then if a council denies or upholds the HPC, they may also file with Superior Court. So this is the language that the state has asked us to add to the code. Do you have any questions for staff? And staff recommends approval of the initiation of the text amendment.
Council have any questions? Is there anyone in the public that would like to come forward and speak? Seeing no one approach, do I have a motion?
Yes, Mayor. Item number 9, motion to approve the initiation of a text amendment to Article 13 of the Unified Development Code regarding historic preservation as proposed.
We've got a motion by Councilmember Hall. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember Judy. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And it passes unanimously. Thank you, Councilmember Hall. Next, we're on to the City Attorney's report.
Thank you, Mayor. The only item I have is a recommendation for closure to discuss personnel, litigation, and real estate.
Do we have a motion for closure?
Motion for closure.
Motion by Councilmember Tizer. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Wilsey. All those in favor, please raise your hands. It passes unanimously. We are adjourned.